We are live. Let me just put out the story. Sort of. Should really do this before I start, shouldn't I? Oh God. Thank you. Bloody hell. Right. Sorry. Right, done. Right, let's get into it. Don't know what I'm going to draw today. Use the 5. I really don't know what I'm going to draw today. Let's just start and see where we go. Don't know why I picked the 5 either, which is the first one. Just wish YouTube allowed me to play some music. I really do. I'm just going to sip a drink. I might use a thicker nib. Please turn off my phone. Do not disturb. Cool. Funny.
Yeah, you make sure you got your own though, didn't you, Xander? Jamie.
I don't think I've done one like this in this book yet. Hey. Dead Hand, how's it going, my man? Sorry, I was just sitting back a second. I was sat in an awkward position. How we going though? Good? And thank you for the like. Oh. I've laid out my shapes for this drawing. Where's the 3? What's that? Yeah, good, thank you. I'm knackered. Still having a bit of trouble sleeping at night. Shaking off the last of that cold, but I'm alright, I feel pretty much over it. Just need to get my sleep habits back. But otherwise okay, did some chores this morning, had a bit of a chill in the afternoon, got dinner, and here I am. Just working on the newest piece. Did you have a good weekend? Mine was pretty uneventful. Yeah, like I say, he just got wrecked because I got a bit of a flu. Not cold, not really a flu, is it? Just a bit of a cold. It just wrecked me, so it was pretty hard to get rid of it, you know. But I'll be fine. Yeah, chilled weekends tend to be the best ones, where you just have a few days off from the world. That's pretty much how mine went. Did a bit more to the piece with the yellow in it. Which piece was that? I think, was it the one you told me you were working on before? Excuse me, you're going to hear me yawning a lot. I do apologise. Oh yeah, the circle one, yeah, I remember. What did you do to it? What weren't you happy with? Was it like a colour decision thing, or? Yeah, I was looking through some old works. Well, I'll say old, but earlier works that I've done this year. Thinking about certain decisions that I made that I thought, not sure that was the best thing to do. Might be able to get away with the darker. What you mean, like when you covered it, the yellow overall just didn't look how you wanted. You just reminded me actually of. I'll show you a piece that I did in yellow. Same thing. I think I picked the wrong yellow, and it didn't work. I remember it specifically because I did a few like that in this book. That one there. It was one of those where I had this idea in my head. I thought it was going to be like a much lighter yellow than what it was, but when I started to fill it, it's a lot bolder, and it's like I don't mind it. It's there, but yeah, it just didn't work out how I wanted it to. I've had a few like that. That red one, that was a couple of drawings over, same kind of thing. Just didn't look how I wanted it to, you know. Keeping the yellow, it's a different colour I added. Ah, okay, I see. We added something else in it. Yeah, I've had some mishaps with colour choices. I need to do printouts of the colour wheels. Like, you know, you've got the colour wheels, and it will give you like the complementary. So what are the different ones? It's complementary, so it's like colours that are opposite each other on the wheel, like green. I think green and red's one of them. I think there's tri-complementary. I can't remember the names of them all, but I do remember the wheel. It's colour wheel. I do need to use that more often. What are they called? Oh my god! Is this it? Is that a good one? Yeah, blue. Was it blue and orange, green, red, purple, and yellow? But there's like a few other ones. I can't remember what they are. Yeah, yeah. There's like oh, there you go. It might be here. Yeah, monochromatic, analogous, that was one I was thinking of. Complementary, split complementary was one. Triad was the one I was thinking of. Tetradic, well, that's the four of them. Yeah, so that's like, if you follow that, then you tend to get good colorings. Trying not to, yeah, no, definitely not. No, I mean, the thing is, you've got to go through these, I don't want to call them mistakes, just, but decisions that you might not like, but you think, right, I know not to do that again in the future. I used to get really bummed out with stuff like that, but I just thought, well, no, I've got that on record now, and I can look back at it and think, right, I did it on this drawing, don't do it on the next one. Yeah, there's an artist called, is it Marco Bucci, I think he's called, and he's got a series from a few years ago. It was his series of videos that really helped me when I was doing those movie characters, talking about values and colours, and it just broke it down in a really simple way that I understood. Because that's when I think my painting started to get better, because I used to use, I painted them in black and white at first to get the values nailed down, which really helped me. So that was really, really useful. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's like loads of colour choices I've made that I'm like, no, that one didn't work. And I'll say to myself afterwards, it's like, why don't you just look, refer to the colour chart? I tell you what I've been looking at today is it just kind of popped up on my TikTok, but it's something I have been kind of half interested in all the time. Like, I'll notice images of this in movies and stuff, and that is the, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Yes, it is. And that is a brutalism or brutalist architecture. So like those really kind of bleak grey concrete looking buildings that you associate with like the Middle East, not the Middle East, Eastern Europe, sorry, Russia, and just like, really run down poor like tower blocks and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's like an attractive, like, it's not a visually pleasing style, but I just find it really interesting. Like I'm quite into dystopian worlds, or dystopian and utopian, I guess. But yeah, I don't know why, but that just, I was going through loads and loads of sort of pictures of brutalist architecture and stuff. It's kind of what this drawing's very, very, very loosely inspired by. But the sort of big, vast, just blocky concrete sort of buildings. And I thought that would be some cool imagery to, especially to create in pixel art. There's a game that I played. I think it was only the second game I've ever fully completed on Steam, called what was it called? Papers, Please. It's basically just a bureaucracy em up where is sort of set in, is it 1970s or 1980s kind of Eastern Europe. Like, it's under like I don't know, I think it's like a fascist dictatorship, and people are at a border. You've got to check their passports and let them in, or not let them in, depending on if they meet the conditions or not. You know, you can choose to accept bribes as well and let people in that you're not supposed to let in. But you get penalised if you let too many in that aren't supposed to be in. It's a really fun little game, but it's the aesthetics of it. It's just this really bleak, kind of Soviet style aesthetic, and I don't know. I just find it really. I don't know why. I just find it really interesting. I don't know if it's because I used to live in sort of high-rise flats when I lived in Germany. I don't know. There's just something about it that interests me. I think I have it in my library, but then I have a lot of games in my library. Yeah, I've got far too many. I've still got Doom to finish. Doom 2000, I want to say 16 was it came out? Like, I've nearly finished it, but I don't know why. I just never fully completed it. I need to finish it mainly to get it off my flipping hard drive because it's eating up loads of space. Got 2 Point Hospital to finish. Again, I'm not too far off the end of that. Titan Souls is another one. Really cool little game. Cuphead is another one. I approached Cuphead wrong though. I approached Cuphead like a filthy cash, and it's like, no, you need to invest time into learning this because it's a difficult game. It's a very difficult game. But I've been thinking a lot about how to kind of progress my drawings over the last few days. Like, obviously I want to keep drawing these kind of drawings because I really enjoy them, but I don't want to just stay exactly the same. Like, I do want to develop it a bit, and like I was saying to Koo the other day, like, his work has inspired me to think about maybe doing some more 3D shapes with it. Just expanding out, looking at the way I kind of build out my drawings. Like, that's, I've been looking at architecture a lot, hence the sort of looking at brutalism stuff today, just to give it a bit more personality, things like that. I'm revisiting the pixel art because I want to, like, it's thinking of a different way to draw, because when I was doing pixel art before, I was trying to copy exactly the same way that I draw on paper and applying it to the digital stuff, but it doesn't, you can't really think about it like that. You've got to think about the aesthetic and then the best way to build it through that medium. Yeah. I don't think I've bought a game off Steam in about 5 years. Or if I have bought one, it was like a £3 one that I really wanted. But in the last 5 to 6 years, the amount of games I've bought on Steam is, but you can count on one hand. That's at the most. I'm pretty sure. I'll have a quick peek at my library now. Get off, God's sake. I'm just looking now. It'll be at the bottom. Are usually my newer ones. Crimson Clover. When did I get Crimson Clover? That was a good few years ago. Oh no, I can tell you exactly what the last game I bought was. It was Watch Dogs about 4 months ago because it was on for £3. I think it was at £2.99. And the reason I bought it, this is so stupid, this is so lazy why I bought Watch Dogs. I bought it because I already had it on, is it Ubisoft? It's Ubisoft, isn't it? On their gaming platform thing. I think I bought it on there for about £3 as well. But it wasn't letting me sign in because I thought, oh, I really want to actually catch up and play that because I wouldn't mind going through the Watch Dogs games. But it wouldn't let me sign into my account. So instead of jumping through all the hoops to get it back on Ubi, is it Uplay that thing is? I just went, no, you can bollocks. I can't be arsed messing about with you. And then it popped up on Steam sale. It wasn't in my wish list or anything. I just saw it and I thought, do you know what? I may as well just pay £3 for it. I'd rather pay the £3. I spend more than that when I go to Greg's. Do you know what I mean? I thought I'll not cry over £3. That's the last game I bought because I was too flipping lazy to sort out my account on Uplay. And then the most recent game before that would have been 5 years ago, and it was Vermintide 2. I think it was Vermintide 2. Warhammer Vermintide, yeah. That I used to play with my uni mates. I'm pretty sure it was that. But I've said to myself, I'm not allowed to play Watch Dogs until I finish, because I actually do really want to get into Watch Dogs, until I finish Doom and 2 Point Hospital. That is what I have said to myself. I remember I was at a Eurogamer when Watch Dogs was announced. I want to say 2013. That was like 2-3 years. No, it was about 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. Where me and my mates from uni used to go all the time. We used to go to that and Res. I personally preferred Res. Especially since they moved the location. So the Eurogamer used to be in London, and Res was in Birmingham. Then they switched it. And when it was in Birmingham, it was at the big, I don't know what it's called, like the big centre they've got there, like their equivalent of what the O2 is. But it's at a really crap location. Whereas the London one was like, it was always within walking distance of where you stayed. And we had a great time. I really enjoyed it. But I remember thinking, oh, Watch Dogs looks mint. I was really excited for it, and it came out, and it was a bit of a damp squib, according to the reviews. So that kind of half put me off, but I still wanted to play it. I just didn't prioritise it. They just released Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. Looks good. Yeah, I need to catch up on Warhammer. Like, I've got 3 of the books. I got them for Christmas. I've got 2 of them here. The first one's by my bedside, which I keep, like, I'll get so far and then it's like I just don't read. But I've got these 2, Galaxy in Flames and False God, so they're the next 2. But it's just allowing myself time to read them because I love that universe. Like, I used to collect it when I was 15. Warhammer 40k, but it is bonkers expensive. It's like, I think it's 80 quid for the starter pack now. Might even be more than that. Coob, how's it going, man? No, thank you for popping on. Like I say, I'm always a little bit early-ish. I'm going to be on for a little bit because there's some heavy detail going into this, so I'll be... Thank you. Yeah, I was just telling Deadhand that I've been looking at brutalism architecture. That's kind of loosely inspired the sort of blocky shapes. But yeah, 45. I've heard the new Warhammer game's looking good. I think the only Warhammer game I've played, well, it's not really a Warhammer. It was an offshoot of Warhammer, or is it like a side? Was Blood Bowl. I remember years ago a mate of mine had the actual physical board game of it, but I couldn't get into it. Yeah, Vermintide was quite fun, even though I'm more of a 40k guy than a standard Warhammer guy. There's a channel that you'd be interested in called, in fact, I'm going to find it for you right now. Begins with L. I always forget his name. It begins with L. Lutin09. So if you're ever interested in, he does a lot of Warhammer sort of deep dives into the universe, like his most recent one is called the Imperial Knights, the Orcs, like what if the Chaos rule the galaxy. Like, it's a universe that I'm really interested in. Like, I've done sort of mini dives and stuff like that, and I'd love to sort of play about with model building and stuff like that and world building with it. I'm not sure I'd play the game as much because, like, it's quite time intense. But I love the sort of lore of it and the world building of it. I love how mental the universe is. Like, it is so grim. But yeah, he talks about like the worst jobs, like he goes through all the races in it. It's really interesting. I really like it. It's my kind of gear. A friend of mine keeps trying to get me into Blood Bowl. He's played tournaments. Yeah, it's just, yes, yeah, Blood Bowl. Like, I don't think it's bad at all. It's like a really cool idea and a really cool concept. It's just, I don't think my brain's made for games like that. Like, I just don't think, I just can't find the appeal in it. But I can still kind of appreciate that it's a pretty cool idea, but it's just not for me. Like, I remember playing, was it Heroes of the Storm? I want to say Heroes of the Storm on a Blizzard, and I'm just like, I'm playing this thinking this is just nonsense to me. This, I think I prefer to be kind of more, don't know, like, but I mean, I thought I might like Heroes because I like StarCraft 2. I do quite like that. I like some of the Command and Conquer games as well, but they're not really as fast paced. Or I should say, I like going through the story modes of those games because they're a bit slower paced. I think, which probably suits me. But yeah, it's like is it Dota 2? I remember that was huge. I don't know if it still is. I'm assuming it is, but that was huge for years, wasn't it? Was it a few years back that just exploded and people were going crazy for it? But the lore of 40k is so deep. Yeah, it's huge. But again, I just really like it. I like the dystopian um, sort of world of it. Yeah, and I started reading Horus Heresy, which I've got. Is it Horus Heresy? It's literally on my bedside table, and I've read like the first couple of chapters, and I'm really into it. But it's just reading in general. I've not kept up with anything that I've started, which is just on me really, just being a lazy bum. I'm away. Me and a few friends make characters play 40k. Haha, that's cool. Never got around to playing it. Yeah, I think the problem I might have with games like D&D sounds really fun. Like again, my university mates play it, but I think it's just too time heavy because you can go at D&D games for like hours. Like you have to set aside like an entire day. Like I say, because I've got my kids and family and stuff, and other kind of things. It's kind of really hard to do. Like even like when I want to play video games, I can only get really like 2 to 3 hours at a time. And by the time I get around to actually being able to play them, I want something that's just a bit easy, like I don't have to really invest in. So like so that's what me and my friends do. Like we'll play sort of Warzone because it was the game we kind of all played on during lockdown because it was the only game that we all had. Or that we could all kind of get because it was free, wasn't it? Or like I'll just sort of chill out with a bit of Minecraft, just doing a bit of building, a bit of mining. I think Yahtzee described it as what it's like the equivalent of like your model train set kind of thing. Like my favourite game of all time's A Link to the Past, a Zelda game. I still haven't played. I have it, but I've still not finished Breath of the Wild. Again, purely just because of how sort of time heavy it is. Like the time commitment is so big. I got most of Horus Heresy on audiobook. Yeah, I've got the first three, but it's hard for the time. Yeah, I'm gonna work on a new track, but I'll have a. Yeah, no worries, Coob. You be interesting to hear that. Your last one was really good, by the way, but wasn't very good. Yeah, like I know there's quite a lot of online D&D sessions. Again, I don't think my brain is suited to it. Like, I think what would happen is because of how directly involved you are to it, I think I'd get bored and start playing on my phone. Turned out to be a lot of shouting. Yeah, I just don't think I'm built for games like that. Like, it's one of those things I'd like to try once, maybe, if I knew it was going to be a shorter game. But I just don't. I think I'd probably get bored if it was like a game that went on for ages. I think I'd struggle to keep myself invested in it, and that wouldn't be fair to like everyone else playing. Like if they got really heavily into it and I just wasn't, I don't think it'd be fair on them. But it's one of those where I can appreciate, because I love this kind of world building for it. But another thing, I don't know if it would necessarily be my thing, because I'm more of a sci-fi guy as opposed to a fantasy guy. I'm sure there's a sci-fi equivalent of like D&D or similar. I suppose Warhammer, I guess, but it's not played in quite the same way as D&D, is it? It's like battle campaigns and things like that. I don't even know how long those games can go on for. But I think I'd be more interested in the painting of the models and the sort of world building. I guess I think would be more my sort of speed. Give me a sci-fi game and I'm well away. Yeah. Yeah, Baldur's Gate. Like, I've heard it's really good. I never played any of them, but again, I'm just a bit lukewarm to it. Like, I'm not fussed. Diablo's another series that has got a really big sort of hardcore fan base, but I'm just like, not asked really. A series that I remember really excited about playing, but again didn't really massively hit, was Fallout. Like, I played the third one and I completed it, and I thought afterwards, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, I never had a burning desire to really get into it. One of my best friends, he's really into Fallout, and the new TV series does look pretty good actually. I'll give it that. But it just never. I just never thought, yeah, this is it. This is the series for me. There's been a few like that. I remember playing No Man's Sky for quite a while. That was fun, but that was on Xbox Game Pass, and I had to give that up. So I've not been able to get back into it. I really wanted to play Starfield, but I've heard it's really, really mid. Like, a lot of bells, no whistles. Or I should say, a lot of bells and whistles with no sort of substance to it. Yeah, I was just about to say Fallout New Vegas. That is the one I do want to play, because that's the one that everyone says is the go-to kind of Fallout game. That is the one I do want to play. I don't think I'd be bothered about 4, but Fallout New Vegas is one that I do want to get my hands on. That's kind of like unanimously considered the best one, isn't it? But yeah, there's been a few games like that where I've thought, like, I really wanted to love it, but I just thought it was fine. I think Borderlands was another one. I finished the first one. I thought, yeah, this was all right. Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, there's quite a few that I don't know that I'll play, and I think I really want to get into it, but I don't know, just it doesn't grip me. It's the same with like certain horror games or the fantasy games. Like a friend of mine, I still haven't finished it yet. A friend of mine lent me The Last of Us, and that easily for me goes down as the most overrated game of all time. I do not know how that is even in the same breath as some other games that are in the sort of greatest games of all time. Like I just Borderlands got weight up. It's yeah, I can understand. Thank you for the second like as well. Like like it kind of lives off its. Look how wacky we are, lol. It's like, yeah, we get it. You're a bit quirky. Yeah, I can kind of see that. But yeah, I got told. Thank you for the third like as well. I got told with The Last of Us to play it on the hardest difficulty because that's like the one that's most immersive. I'm sorry, but I'm just not immersed in that game at all. I think primarily because I'm like a gameplay kind of guy. Like I think the game has to have great gameplay first. I don't know if that's the game designer in me coming out, but it just seems to lack gameplay. Like it's trying to rely far too hard on the atmosphere of it, and which is good. Like, but yeah, there's just nothing outstanding about that game. Like, the story is just, apart from the opening scene, like I don't really remember much of it. But yeah, it just annoys me how good people think that game is. I just think, what the fuck are you playing? Again, that had the opposite effect of that. Was I remember I refused to play it because it was getting Game of the Year shouts and one of the greatest games ever, blah blah blah. And I thought, no, I bet it's not a Game of the Year. It just seems a bit, everyone's going on about it, and I bet it's not. One of the games that did that, but then when I actually played it, I thought, yeah, fair enough, this is actually amazing, and it's now one of my favourite games, is Half-Life 2. I thought that game was absolutely superb. It's not perfect, like there's a couple of levels that are, it's got a couple of duds in there, but for the most part, I thought that game was sensational. Yeah, you see, the TV show doesn't interest me. Like, horror doesn't really interest me as a genre anymore at all. Like, I think The Thing probably ruined that for me because it's such a good film that I just thought, well, horror's not going to get any better than this, so I think I'm all good on getting jump scared by little girls and all that crap. But yeah, there's one. I remember there was one moment in the game that really irritated me. So there's a level, right, where you're in a museum. I think it's a museum, and the design of the level is meant to be where you stealth through the rooms because the creatures in it, they're like attracted by noise. So there's kind of bits and pieces around the museum, so you kind of distract them with noise, you move silently, you've got to time it right, and I thought, right, this is what I'm talking about. I like this kind of stuff, where you've got to think your way through, you actually feel like properly immersed in it, and you know, you've got to kind of sneak about and get. I thought, this is my jam, yeah, but this is what I'm talking about. After going through the level several times, it just didn't matter what you did, these monsters would always hear us. So I thought, what's the point? So all I did was I ended up just legging it through the museum, and then I finished it. And I thought, that's shite. I thought, game of the century, apparently. I'm like, fucking piss off with that. It just highlighted to me, like, the importance of gameplay. Like, you need to have a good gameplay structure. That's why games like Guitar Hero work so well. Tetris. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be flashy, it just needs to be engaging. Engage your brain. Half-Life 3 is never coming out. No. I gave up on that train longer. I mean, I know they've done Alex. I never got to play that. But no, I've just accepted Half-Life 3 is never going to happen. Yeah, Half-Life 2 was excellent. Half-Life 1 was good, but the last half an hour of that game was a punish. Like, when you're on the ship and stuff, that was pretty... wasn't like awful, but it just felt a bit grindy, like lasted maybe a bit too long. But yeah, Half-Life 2 was mega. Again, not perfect. There's a couple of duds in the levels, but overall it was good. There's too much behind Half-Life 3. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. There is far too much hype. And the problem is as well, I think what game developers try and do unnecessarily is they'll try and make, instead of just making a really tight game, they'll just try and make it bigger, bolder, better, longer. So no, you don't need to. To make the game better, it doesn't always need to be more. Don't just pointlessly add more shit. Yeah, Portal games, I agree, were great. I've got the both of those. Portal, the first Portal game, I would say, this might be a bit of a shout, but it's not my favourite game in the world, but I would say it's probably the most tightly designed game I've ever played. Like, I can't think of an ounce of fat that is on that game. Like, it's not too long. The puzzles are engaging. It's got a good quirky sense of humour. And it's just fun from start to finish. Like, I just can't think of... Like, I can't think of a negative thing to say about especially the first Portal game. Like, I just think, like, they nailed this. It knew exactly what it was, knew exactly what it wants to be, and it just executed it as perfectly as a game could be executed. It was just... Again, I'm not sure I'd necessarily call it the greatest game ever, but I'd say possibly the best, most tightly designed game I've ever played. But yeah, both excellent, excellent games. Just large amounts of fun to be had. And you felt very, like, when you finished it as well, you're like, yeah, that you just walked away from it thinking that was just a really fun experience. Yeah, the Portal games are great. I've only finished Portal 1 once. I've got that, is it the Portal Bridge Maker? I've got that on Steam, and I played quite a lot of it on Xbox Pass as well. That's quite fun. Like, yeah, little fun games like that. I remember Lemmings as well back in the day. That was fun as well. See, games like that, I think are fun. Like, they don't need to be really spectacular. Just have a really tight core game mechanic. You know, create some interesting visuals for it, and engage your brain. But I remember sort of chatting back and forth about this with people at uni, and I just think it's why I couldn't get my head around the Final Fantasy games. Like, I played Final Fantasy X, but I don't know, the game felt a bit pretentious, I thought. And like turn-based games as well, they can kind of trouble me a bit because I think I'm not really involved in this. Like, I couldn't get into Mario RPG. Like, I know those games are like really heavily story driven, but I can't help but think if I wanted a story, I'd read a fucking book. But I want to actually play. But again, that's not to say that the Final Fantasy games are bad. I just don't think my brain's made for it. They're just not my jam. I'm just going to put my cinch in now, just so I'm not. No worry, I'm not finishing the drawing just yet. I'm just putting my signature there so I don't accidentally draw over it. Annie, how's it going, my man? We're just chatting video games. Games that we like and don't like. I had a little whine about The Last of Us, saying it's the most overrated game in history. Again, I hesitate to call it bad. I think bad's too harsh a word. I don't think it is bad. It's just, I just don't get it. I don't get games that have limited gameplay. They frustrate me because it feels like I'm not really involved in it. That's why I struggle with the RPG, specifically JRPG games. Have they all? Oh, thank you, Coop. Appreciate it. Oh, Star Trek Online. I wouldn't mind giving that a shot. I love Star Trek. Like, I think Next Generation is one of the greatest pieces of television ever. And we just watched Oppenheimer. What did you think to Oppenheimer? I watched it at the cinema whenever it was, it a few weeks ago. I liked it, but I don't think it was Nolan's best. I won't discuss it like if there's anyone in here who wants to see it who hasn't seen it. I think I gave it like a 3.75 out of 5. I thought it was good, but not amazing. Like, I think almost everything else I've seen of his is better. I think the only two films of Nolan's I haven't seen are Memento and Dunkirk. But Dunkirk's annoying me because it keeps popping up on the streams, and then when I go to watch it, it'll disappear. But I think everything else that he's done, I think I like more. Too long. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would probably agree with that wholeheartedly, Annie. It's. Thank you for the fourth like as well. Too. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was as long as it was, which is a good sign. I think one of the things that made me feel like it was longer than it was is I won't spoil anything because you two want to see it, but it felt like Chris Nolan was like super interested in this particular subject, specifically Oppenheimer himself. And it felt more like of a personal project where he just poured out a biography onto the screen almost. Which again, it's interesting, but I'm not, like I said, I didn't love it as much as his other works. But Cillian Murphy's performance was amazing in it. Yeah, so was Downey's. So everyone's performances were great. Yeah, it's one of those films. I definitely say if you want to watch it, definitely go and watch it. It's good. It is a good film. I just, again, I don't think it's necessarily his best film. I'd probably say, oh, I don't know. Inception's my favorite, I'd say, but you can't overlook Dark Knight and Interstellar. Prestige is forgotten about a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of hard with Nolan because he's got so many good works, but. See, I really enjoyed Tenet. I thought that got a bit of shit, but I thought Tenet was actually really cool. Maybe it's because I really like sci-fi, so I kind of liked almost the complexity of it. Like it did seem like overly complicated, but I personally didn't mind that. It made me think, oh, I want to go back and watch it again. But yeah, I really didn't mind Tenet. I really liked it. I liked it more than Oppenheimer. But Tenet gets shit on a little bit, I think. Yeah. Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, that might if you're watching it on a smaller screen, that might have an effect, yeah, of your experience. I did manage to see it at the cinema, thankfully. Interstellar, yeah, Interstellar's amazing. Interstellar is really flipping good. Really did like Interstellar's probably the. I don't know. It's hard. I just remember watching Inception and just thinking I've not seen an action film like this before. Like I'm a really big action fan, and just really enjoying the experience of it. I just thought I love this film. It's one of those where maybe I could possibly say that I enjoyed Inception more, and I'd probably rewatch that more. But I could concede that Interstellar's probably a better film, if that makes sense. I'm watching Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean, Dead Hand. I do remember thinking, yeah, because they kind of narrowed it down, thinking it's got to be. But again, I don't mind it because it's like I don't care if the twist is obvious as long as the twist is good. Like, and it makes sense within the context of the film. Like, if they kind of play it up to be this, oh my god, you would have never have guessed this, then that could be a bit obnoxious. But I didn't mind it. My ship is dead. Miranda class. I was just going back to something else you said earlier about first-person shooters not being your jam. That hand, I like first-person shooters. I Again, it depends with first-person shooters. Like Counter Strike. I don't think I've ever played, or I might have played for 5 minutes and I couldn't get into it. Call of Duty multiplayer, I think I don't mind it. In fact, I like it because I like the kind of it's the video game equivalent of junk food. Like, you don't have to think about anything. Like, at the end of the night, like when it gets to about 9 o'clock for me, 8 9 o'clock, and I just want to take a load off and just jump into shipment and just lazily shoot some people. I don't know what it is. It's like the video game equivalent of popping bubble wrap. Like, it's not high video game design or anything, but it just scratches that itch. Like, you unlock some camos and grind out for just a couple of hours. Just have a little grind on shipment, shoot some people, just brain dead gaming, and I can just go and do something else. I think this it just scratches that itch for me. So I think that's why I kind of like that. I grew up on like Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, which I really liked. I think the Halo series up to Halo Reach was superb because it wasn't just aimlessly blasting. It was, you actually had to think about, especially in the sort of legendary difficulties. Again, I like the fact that it made you think. Like, every weapon had a purpose. So even the crappy little plasma pistols, you're like, well, what's the point in using this? But it was like, well, it's actually one of the most important guns in the game. So it made you think. Like, it made you think, what guns do I need for certain situation? I like that. Just an extra little bit of depth to just mindless shooting. Which, again, mindless shooting is fine, but I think that with the sort of, it made the gameplay good. Which is why I like it. But there are a lot of shit FPS games out there that, again, just zero depth and interest. You are right about that. Oh, that's a shame, Coob. Maybe just like a step back from it and then go back to it at another time. Maybe. Yeah, it's 100% relatable. Yeah, just have like a break from it. That's all you can do, really. trying to think of genres that I don't know. I mean, I'll give most games a go. Like, I would still like to play Final Fantasy VII, just because of all the hype around it. The only one I've played was Final Fantasy X. Oh no, sorry. I tried playing Final Fantasy X, but the copy that I lent off my friend was so damaged, it only got to the... It did the big cutscene at the start, and then it didn't... I couldn't get any further than that, so that was a bust. Final Fantasy XII was just... I couldn't make sense of that. But again, games where you have to kind of pick attack from a drop-down list, and then... Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't think that's why I could get into Mario RPG. I just thought, no, this isn't interesting to me, because I didn't really feel like I was doing anything. There's been a few that have worked. Is it the Stick of Destiny, the South Park one, worked because in the turn-based combat you were actually involved. Like you had to time the attacks yourself. I think there was like a speed bar or something that you actually felt like you were involved in the attacks and stuff. And it's South Park, so it was funny. It didn't take itself too seriously, which is maybe the problem with a lot of other RPG games. They maybe take themselves a wee bit too seriously, trying too hard to be epic. Wish I could just push through it. Yeah, sometimes could like give it a shot pushing through, but then other times you just think, nah, I'll take a step back from this. That is the frustration of creativity at times. Final Fantasy, that's 9, right? No, 14. Fucking hell, Jamie. X1V is 14, isn't it? I do not know. There was that... No, I think that was a Metal Gear Solid one. Was it? Not Snake Rising. Is it the Raiden one? That seemed pretty fun, but that's Metal Gear. Metal Gear. I do want to go through those games. I got quite far in Metal Gear Solid 2, but I borrowed that off a friend, so I didn't end up finishing it. But I would like to go through that again. I remember having quite a lot of fun with that. It seemed wacky in a fun way, like one of the bosses in it was like a big fat guy on roller skates. But in that weird kind of Konami, almost anime way. It's unbelievably sort of camp, but taking itself ultra seriously, which makes it funny. But I don't know if that was intentional or not. I couldn't tell you. Still fun though. Star Trek Online. I think I've only seen like a mobile version of Star Trek Online. But I'd love to. I've always wondered why there hasn't been like a really big Star Trek game, because I flipping love Next Generation. Is it the one that's free on Steam? Because there's Star Trek, I'm just looking now. So there's Star Trek Online. Star Trek Infinite, is that what I just saw? Oh, there's loads of them. So there's Star Trek Resurgence, Star Trek Timeline, Star Trek Bridge Crew, Star Trek Infinite. Flipping it, there's loads of them. I think some of these are expansion packs, though. Star Trek Pinball. 13 quid for Star Trek Pinball. Give us a... turn it over, will you? A lot of them have got very bang average reviews though. Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Oh. Star Trek, yeah, I'll give that a go. Yeah, Star Trek Infinite is $26.99, and that's got very mixed reviews. Is that a card game? It's a strategy. No, that looks boring. Oh, this is a bridge crew. What's that? No. Yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. Ships look sexy, so yeah, the ship design in Star Trek is really, really good. You just made me think of Eve as well. Eve Online. I never played that. I always wanted to kind of give it a go. I heard a few mixed things about it, like it was just really boring, but some people really liked the immersion of it. It's always one that I wanted to try to see if I could get into it. But maybe the time has passed for Eve now, possibly. Because it's been around, is it 2007 or something like that? It's been around since. It's been around forever. They know what their audience like, yeah. Nice. I haven't seen all of the movies. I've seen all the Next Generation movies, which I liked. First Contact was amazing. But the original I haven't. What battery are we on? 40%. Still quite a lot. Picard, well, Picard for me, because I haven't seen the original series. I've only seen TNG. I didn't get the hate for Generations. It was a pretty decent movie. Yeah, Generations was fine, I thought. It's probably the weakest. I still like it. The thing is, I just like that world, so I'm a little bit biased towards it all. I thought it was good. Voyage Home, the original crew. Janeway. I started watching. Was it DSN? Is it Deep Space Nine next? It's Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery. Is that right? I think I started DS9. And I really enjoyed the first episode, but again, the time commitment of it, I thought I'm gonna have to set aside a bit of time for this. Do 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 do. We don't talk about it. Yeah, Insurrection was a bit forgettable. Insurrection felt again. I didn't mind it. I liked it, but Insurrection just felt like a long episode, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just you want it to feel a bit more epic and a bit more grand when it's in a movie. That's why I thought First Contact was one of the many reasons why I thought First Contact was excellent. Oh, thank you, Cube. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't mind this piece. I quite like it. Yeah, I like the new movies. I mean, I suppose the advantage I think was that I didn't see the original series. Where I know some of the complaints were it felt like a bit too much of a dumbed down action film. But again, I didn't mind it. I thought they were really enjoyable watches. I liked the cast. I thought they were good fun, is what I thought. Like I said, I enjoyed them because they just felt like good sort of fun films. So I didn't mind them. Yeah, second one. I mean, I remember really enjoying it the first time I saw the second one, but then I've kind of watched it since. I'm like, it's a little empty. Like I thought some of the casting choices were great. I liked Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan. I liked, Peter Weller's character. Yeah, the third one did feel very. That's exactly my thought. Thank you for the 5th like as well. That is exactly my thought on what was it called? The hell was the third one called? Star Trek Beyond. Thank you, left-handed painter, and welcome in. Good to see you. But yeah, Beyond was a strange one because a lot of people preferred Beyond because it felt more episodic, and a lot of people disliked it because they thought it wasn't as epic. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed Beyond. I actually kind of liked the fact that it had a more of an episodic feel. But no, I like the new Star Trek movies. I've not watched any of Discovery. I watched the first season of Picard, which I thought was all right, but a bit. I've heard season 2 is crap, and I've heard season 3 is good. So it is. It's. I will return to it. But again, because I love TNG so much, that I think maybe that's why I was a little bit hesitant about going back to it. Star Trek has a crap ton of epic ship clips. Yeah. But hear me out. Undiscovered Country is probably the best film of the original franchise. I've not watched any of them. I'm such a fake fan, aren't I? And the thing is as well, like I really like William Shatner. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Boston Legal, the sort of lawyer show with him and James Spader. I thought it was brilliant, and like they make such a good combo. And I loved William Shatner's character in that. It's one of those where I remember after seeing that series, I thought I really should go and watch Star Trek. I tell a lie. I think I have seen one of them, but I saw it years ago when I was a kid. What's the one where... Is it Search for Spock? Is that it? The one where they're evaporating all the water off the Earth for the whales. I think I've seen that one, but when I was a kid, so I can barely remember it. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of the Next Generation. It's made me want to watch them all, but I just haven't got around to it yet. Star Trek 5 was out, maybe. Yeah, I do need to get around to the old films, but was it? Is it Search for Spock? Is that it? I only became a fan mid to 8, the whole franchise in just under a year. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. I think Star Wars, I don't know, it's so hit and miss, the Star Wars franchise. Like it ranges from, like the kids have been asking me about it recently. My daughter like loves Baby Yoda, and I've said to her that the Star Trek films range from absolute hot garbage to amazing. The Mandalorian's great. I've not watched Kenobi. I've heard it's pretty mid. I've not watched the flipping Boba Fett one, but I've heard that's pretty crap. That Ashoka one, I couldn't be less interested in that. But again, I like the. I think the reason I prefer Star Trek is I like the exploration of it. Like the whole thing seems to be about sort of exploring. You know, it's not based around. Even though I'm a big action junkie, like it's not based around action. It's something different. And I prefer episodical TV shows as well, where like every episode is different. You know, it's not like a big overarching story. And warp technology. Search for Spock, yeah, that's the one. That's the only one I think I've seen. There's a freaking Defiant that's flanking me. He needs to get that sorted. All of the movies for nostalgia, but I could never get into Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars, I'm definitely not like a major Star Wars fan. Like, I like them. Don't get me wrong, I do like them, but I'm just not this like uber fan like a lot of people are. Like, I wasn't that crushed when Phantom Menace came out and it was shit. I just thought, There's got some good bits in Phantom Menace, like Darth Maul and the pod racing and stuff. But the new ones were questionable at best. I thought Rian Johnson made a massive mistake with The Last Jedi. In-game. It's like the Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. One's better objectively, but the other one's more famous. But it's probably where all... every now and again. Lord of the Rings all day. See, I don't have a loyalty to either, because I'm not a fantasy guy. I'm more of a sci-fi guy. I'd say Lord of the Rings trilogy. I've not watched the Hobbit films because I've got no interest in watching them, but the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is objectively a much better set of films than all of the Harry Potter films. But Harry Potter, I think the films are just kind of easier going. They're like ones you can just chuck on with your kids and, you know, rewatch them on a rainy day. I don't know, they're just a bit easier to watch, whereas Lord of the Rings, like, it's a proper epic story. And the thing is, the Lord of the Rings films, they are really, really, really good. I've got the, I gave it away, actually. I gave it to my sister-in-law. I had the, what do you call it? That book, you know, the book, the like Lord of the Rings trilogy, and they look like bookends, kind of thing. But yeah, the Lord of the Rings are really, really good films, I think. But I do like the Harry Potter films. I think they're fun. Like, I've got no interest at all in reading either sets of books. Like, I'll never read Lord of the Rings. I'll say never. They're on a list very, very low down of priority books for me to read. But I don't think I'll ever read the Harry Potter books. Like, I'm just not that interested. I think they're fun films, but that's about it for me. Like, it's not one where I'm like deeply invested in the lore. I wouldn't mind giving a Hogwarts Legacy a crack though. That looks kind of fun. Yeah, the extended cut Dead Hand. Thank you. Yeah, those. Speaking the epics, Napoleon was fucking. Oh, is Napoleon good? It looked really good. It's is that Ridley Scott? That's his one, isn't it? Yeah, the trailer. I remember seeing that when I watched Oppenheimer. It looked really, really good. Yeah, I've read Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings trilogy is quite a slog. Yeah, yeah. Napoleon did look very good. Again, not normally the kind of film I would watch, but that did look really good. To be fair, and Joaquin Phoenix is one of those actors where I'll watch whatever he's in. But I do admit I have not yet watched Joker, which is I know it's a failing on my part. Yes. I feel like that's going to be when I used to get ribbed or ripped. I shouldn't say rib, not a condom. But I'm a Scotsman by birth, and my friends used to absolutely roast me because it took me so long before I watched Braveheart. I think the first time I ever saw Braveheart, I was maybe 22 or something like that, which again isn't that old, but it's not that young either. Yeah, my friends used to give me pelters for that. Sort of stay on the right side of history. Right, do I want to do anything more with this? But yeah, Napoleon did look really, really good. We were talking about Oppenheimer earlier, which I really did, I liked. It's one of those where I'd say it's a good film, but it's not like a super enjoyable film like an Interstellar or an Inception. I don't think there's much more I can do to this. What time are we on? 7:45. What's my battery at? 28%. Yeah, we're getting towards that time again. Oof. Freedom! Yeah, Braveheart's good. You keep making the piece better. Oh, thank you. A couple of dodgy lines up there and doesn't over here. Not concentrating, but oh, there is a bit I have missed. Yeah, this piece was very, very, very loosely inspired by brutalism. I know you can't really see it in that, but it's the I got like a video came up on my TikTok earlier, and it was like somebody posted like a series of pictures what it's like to live in Eastern Europe, and just all those grey, just kind of vast sort of blocks of flats, really depressing looking. It was just all sort of squares and just grey concrete. And I thought, do you know what, it just made me think I'll just do squares, see where I go. I have done a piece similar to that. As I was doing it, I did remember I have done a piece like that in my Arteza series. There you go. I did that. That would have been a few weeks back now. That's really similar to it. Because as I was drawing it, I'm thinking, oh, no, I haven't done a piece in here quite like that. I've done the closest to it would be what? That maybe? That I guess. But I didn't draw that in the same way that I drew that. But then I remembered, oh, I have drawn something similar to that. But yeah, I quite like that piece. I could have done something in the corner there a bit, but it's all right. I just kind of drew it, see where I went. Orange is like, oh, thanks, left-handed painter. Appreciate it. Borgart. Yeah. Looks like great. Yeah, thank you for the compliments, my guys. Really appreciate it. I was saying to Dead Hand earlier, that I need to think about expanding sort of how to draw. Like I was saying, I mentioned your work, Coob, that when you did the 3D stuff, I thought that made me think I need to kind of get some stuff in the scrapbook and think about how to expand out some drawings, like flesh out the details a bit more. Maybe tweak the sort of way I draw a little bit. I'm going to go back to pixel art as well. I think I said this before. The problem I had when I was drawing pixel art is I was trying to draw the exact way I'd be drawing in a sketchbook. So I'd start off with like black lines and draw them, but it doesn't really quite work like that. Whereas instead I should be focusing on like the shapes and like blocking in sort of bigger chunks of drawing first and then do the detail around it as opposed to doing it like this. So I am going to give it another go and see where I end up. Tutorials maybe. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen LHP that the other guys have seen, and again it's in a long line of to-do lists. So I have already written out a tutorial because quite a few people are asking about it, and this isn't just for anyone to draw, obviously it's for everyone to use, but this was kind of more for me, like planning out the most efficient way to draw, to get the sort of, to just really sort of tighten up my drawing. So like that's the sort of main process. I'd start off with like a basic set of shapes, thicken out the outline, filling in a bit of detail, then colours or blocking in where needs, outer detail, and then a background. And then I also did a cheat sheet. So like I would always pick from like these starting sort of groups of shapes. So like squares would be like the first one, random shapes, blocks and lines. That came from a drawing I did ages ago. That really worked well, I thought, that one. So just the simple, instead of just having squares, sort of do sort of one side of that square as lines. Large shapes, combination of views, non-overlapping, so that'd be your overlapping, non-overlapping. Yeah, but you get the picture, sort of those jigsaw pieces, triangles. Well, I call that shards because there's, what are they called? Is it a rhombus they're called? Whatever. But yeah, that was the basic sort of structure of it. But it's like I've drawn like outlines of that, but I need to do voice recording over it. So I'm going to record myself drawing in the tutorial and then voice record over it, but it's just, again, time. The skull what skull concepts were they? I did a, where is it? I did do a skull. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, oh, do you mean these? So that was a skull template I made because I planned to do drawings over some skull. And then I messed about with it a little bit here. So like panel it in, gas mask. Yeah, I've messed about with loads of stuff. Hexagonal, yeah. That's another one I could put on the cheat sheet. The problem with the hexagonal, well, it's not really a problem, is that when you draw it on dot grid like this, where's my pencil? It's not even. So like, if I'll use this. So when you draw a hexagon, is kind of like an elongated hexagon, and this is one of the reasons, because I do want to work with hexagonal shapes. I think you can get it kind of even if you do it this way. If you kind of go halfway, that kind of works. That's kind of like as even as you're going to get it. So that's a shape that I want to work with, but that's why I got where is it? Get off isometric paper. So I bought this. To maybe start playing about in here. I might do like a stream on TikTok or something, playing about in here, and I might use the pens that I got from you, Dead Hand, because I'm still yet to have a proper session. And also, I need to, because I got these off TikTok, so I've got some new pens, because some of mine were starting to run out. I think they were like £4. I'm going to do a session on TikTok with these at some point, if not this week, maybe next week. But in the run-up to Christmas, it's quite hard, because lots of things to do. But lots to do. It will get there. Like, when things quieten down in the new year, I'll start being able to get a bit more done. But the run-up to Christmas is always busy. But that's today's piece anyway. Thank you all very much for popping in. I'll try and get on TikTok throughout the week, just to, like I say, test out those new pens, do some maybe graffiti lettering in the sketchbook, some other mucking about. And I will, this Dead Hand, I promise this week I will get that flipping drawing finished. I promise. But no, thank you all for popping in. Really, really cool chats today about games and films. Love it. I'll be on YouTube stream next on Friday for the Arteza one. I usually jump on about 5:30 now, so between 5:30 and 6, but it's usually closer to 5:30 now, just because it gives me a bit more time. But yeah, look out for me in the week on TikTok. Hopefully see you there. But until then, have a very good week. Thank you all again for popping in. Annie, Dead Hand, Left Handed, Coob. Always good to chat to you guys. And if any of yous are on stream in the week, I'll try and catch you there as well. But in the meantime, have a good week. Hope to see you soon. And I'll catch you next time.